All right, let's see now. This one's working. I have no sound. My mic on the headset wasn't working. I'm using the microphone on the camera, but I do want to use this microphone. I'm going to try it. Okay. Yeah. So for some reason the headset didn't charge. See, I was just talking. All right. So good mornings, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Good mornings to you, Norma. Thank you for being here. Yes, yes. The sound on the headset wasn't working. It didn't charge for some reason. I'm not sure why. And I was saying Bina's not here, and I haven't spoken to Bina today, and I have to assume there's a good reason for it. And that's the point. To assume a good reason. Good. When it comes to communications via the internet, there's a zillion reasons why things don't work. Yes. And I was actually, while I had no sound, that's what I was talking about. I was saying it could be internet. Now, that could be like on my computer. Every now and then, my computer decides to disable the Wi Fi adapter. There's no reason for it. There's absolutely no logical, sensible reason. It just does. And then it's like not working, and well, I see the little icon that says not working, and that could mean a whole bunch of things. Usually it means my internet service provider is having an issue, they're doing maintenance or whatever. I have no idea why they would just stop working for an hour or so. But that's what happens, and okay, it's nothing you can do, you just gotta wait. But sometimes it's not them. Sometimes it's my computer just turning off my Wi-Fi adapter for no good reason. And other times I have a Wi-Fi extender that just boosts the signal. It's like an antenna, really, probably. Because I have weak signal where I am. And sometimes I have to just unplug that and plug it back in again, and then everything is fine. So, things happen for no good reason. And then also, there are good reasons sometimes, right? Sometimes you get unexpected visitors, or like me, I get unexpected customers sometimes. All right, that doesn't typically keep me out of connecting for a long time, but it could. Like, let's say somebody says they're going to come and they want to buy stuff, and I have to go and fetch it at the warehouse and then bring it here. And, that could involve, maybe I don't find it, and that could involve an hour or more. Right? So there's stuff that happens, is what I'm trying to say. No, it's not just you Brits then. Yep, yep, yeah, it's everywhere. There are so many factors. I was also saying that, you could just not be feeling well. I could have the runs. And, well, okay, I have to go to the bathroom, right? Like happened to Sobi Nadar and Biala. And, when Biala was 8, Biala hadn't spoken until then. She heard what Sylvie said to her about listening and absorbing and how valuable that is. And she really found great value in just listening and absorbing, right? Learning, learning, learning all the time. But this particular day, Sylvie took care of her clients via Zoom. Sylvie couldn't be there on the loo. And so Biala had to take care of the client. The client who happened to be the president of the whole world at that time. They just unified the government. He asked her, "What do you think of me?" And he got an answer he didn't expect. As an 8-year-old and totally grown up with honesty, she gave him the honest, full report, right? Which, of course, being a politician, shocked his ego. But it was valuable information, despite not being pleasant. It was good, even though it wasn't nice. So my bigger point is stuff happens, stuff happens, stuff happens. But when we want to connect and we don't, we tend to get upset. Why? Why? Just because you're not getting what you want? Really? Seriously? Come on, don't be so spoiled, people. Don't be so spoiled. The world isn't made just to serve you and your likes and your desires. Just because you typically do get what you want, why does that mean that you can expect to get it all the time? But our brains in the superiority paradigm are so trained to be narcissistic, even if we aren't in a technical sense narcissists, it's still a culture that presses on us. For instance, right? At least in this context here, not necessarily for instance, but how it relates here, is that when we get right, for instance, connectivity with those that we want to connect with, right, via the internet, phone, whatever, we get this 99% of the time. We get this, yes, but we get upset when that 1% of the time we don't get it, or even less. It's like, really, seriously, just think about that. Just think about that from a narcissistic ego ridiculousness point of view. How come just upside down, how preposterous is our thinking that the 1% or even less, it's probably less than 1%. If you take an actual mathematical times. But anyway, let's just use 1%. 1% of the time I don't get, now this is something that I fuss and bother about. But yet, when 99% of the time, I say nothing. Really? Seriously? Come on. Come on. Come on, people. Appreciate what you have instead of not appreciating what you don't have. It's a ridiculous mindset. It's that perfection, me. I have to have it perfect all the time for me. I cannot possibly be put out even for a few minutes, an hour, whatever. You know, it's absurd. It's absurd. It's absurd, people. It's absurd. Don't be absurd. Just think about it. Start shifting your way of being to appreciating what you get day in, day out. You're getting marvelousness. You never could do this in all of the ages before. You can never connect to people like this. Even when I grew up, most of my life I wasn't able to connect to this. Most of people who are alive weren't able to connect to this, right? Because it didn't exist. Yes, internet's a new thing. All this connectivity is a new thing, right? But we get spoiled so quickly instead of appreciating the miracle that it is. Daily miracle. But no, no. And we don't get the message from the universe which says, learn to appreciate, learn to appreciate, learn to appreciate. Trust that it is good. If somebody's not here, they're not connecting, trust that it's good. Don't start making it about you. What did I do? What did I do? I didn't do anything. Whatever something's happening over there, trust that it's good. Trust that it's good. It's amazing how conditioned we are to not trusting that it's good, right? To wanting to insist that somehow it's got something to do with me. If I don't get what I want, I'm being punished. It's my fault. Like, really? Yeah. Random stuff happens. This is narcissist, right? When things don't happen, go the way they think it is. That ego narcissism, that is our culture. I'm not saying we are like in the regular narcissist, which is an extreme of this culture. But if I say, well, it must be me somehow, isn't that narcissistic? Yes, it's you. You made the internet for the other person go out. You made the power outage go out. You made the computer act weirdly and randomly and irrationally. I mean, I can come up with 100 reasons quite easily, literally 100 different reasons why we wouldn't connect, via the internet, things that go wrong, right? I mean, it's almost every time it happens, it's something new, something different, right? But when it happens, then we get all upset and well, somehow somebody did something and now I have to be upset, right? Because they did it to me and there's mean intent involved. Come on. Or I'm to blame in some way. It's my fault. Again, narcissism, just pure narcissism. Nope, nope, nope. I refuse to do that. So I just trust. Random Amron. Hello, Amron, Norma. Yeah, we all have luck in different ways. Exactly. Yeah. Doesn't matter that I have intelligence and it doesn't matter that you're not technical. It doesn't change the equation, Norma. It doesn't change the whole deal. We all have luck in different ways. Stuff happens. Stuff happens. That's my point. Stuff happens. And stuff is just stuff. It's not personal. Not personal. Not personal. And thank you for telling me I had no sound. If you hadn't said Norma, I wouldn't have known and I would have gone on and on because I don't hear myself talking via the speakers. I turn the sound off. So I wouldn't have known. And I sat here for a couple of hours jabbering away to myself. Wonderful. I mean, if Bina was here, then of course, yes. All right. I miss you, Bina, and hope you come join us soon. Before we get going, just message her, tell her I'm missing her. It's very nice when Bina comes. Bina's a very nice person. A wonderfully nice person. Like you are, Norma. Wonderfully nice people. All my friends are wonderfully nice people. Just because I say Venus a wonderfully nice person doesn't mean that my other friends aren't wonderfully nice person. They are. But I was just saying it about Venus. Again, how our minds work, right? We have to be careful. Simply because I said Venus a nice person, does that imply others are not? No, it doesn't. Venus a nice person, Norma's a nice person, Ramsey a nice person, Cher's a nice person, Jessica, etc., etc. Everybody I know is a nice person. Right, my friends, these are nice people. I might be friends with somebody who's not nice, but I try not to be. What was I just saying? What was I just saying, Norma? About being concerned and worrying and stuff like this? Why? Give me one good reason why we should be concerned about Bina. Aren't there 100 reasons, as I just said, why Bina might not be here that have nothing to do with concern? See what I'm saying? We default to these negative habits, which are totally, totally, totally unjustified. There's not one single reason that I should be concerned other than Venus typically here, and now today she's not. I should rather be thankful that Bina is here typically, yeah, and that we usually don't have something that gets in the way. Today, obviously, something is. I have to trust, Norma, I have to trust that it's a good reason that she's not here. Maybe something wonderful happened. Why do we assume a negative when we don't know? Could it not be that we should be like really thrilled and excited? Something marvelous and magical happened for Bina. Maybe Bina won the lottery over there and they're out celebrating and collecting it. And who knows? My point is, in the lack of any information whatsoever, the probability of negative is as equal as the probability of positive. It's like I'm so fascinated with aliens, and you watch alien movies, right? And you see the scientists, and they come, they contact the government, telescopes and all this have picked up alien spaceships approaching Earth. Oh my God, calamity, calamity. Oh my God, we're getting invaded, we're getting invaded. The aliens going to come and kill us all and take over the planet and whatever. Huh? Really? 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 How do you get this? You are scientists. You have zero information. Zero. The probability of those aliens being positive and benign and bringing great boons and new technology and transforming the planet and being spiritual and wise is equally as great as them being evil and horrible. Statistical probability, you scientists, you should understand statistical probability. The chances are 50-50. You have no idea. It could be somewhere in between. You have no idea. Zero. None. You have not one single iota of evidence to support this assumption that it's going to be negative. But people tend to default to the negative. Why? Doesn't mean you must ignore the negative and take precautions if you can. Yes. But there's no reason for it. Absolutely no reason. Right? No reason. So we have to trust without trusting and then prepare for the positive also. Could be both. Same thing with this. We don't know if it's negative. And I refuse to waste my time and energy assuming it's negative because Venus is not here. If it is, okay, well, there's nothing I can do about it. So what's the point of being stressed about it? Doesn't help. Yeah. The thing is, we don't know that she's acting out of character, Norma. Yes, she's not here, but that doesn't mean she's acting out of character. It just means that she doesn't have internet or power, which happens sometimes. Usually, it doesn't overlap with the time. They tend to have it at times which don't correspond to that time. Because for her, this is in the night, and so they usually have the power outages a little later, which mark, after midnight there. like 2, 3 in the morning if they can. But yeah, you see, it's not her acting out of character. It may have nothing to do with her. They may have gotten a big visit. She gets a lot of visitors in her house. They're kind of a hub, and the core of a big community. So people are coming and going always on Sundays. They have visitors. So it's actually, quite a big deal that Bina does manage to be here. And they get visitors. They'll have visitors come at like 11 o'clock at night. Quite amazing. Later sometimes. People will come and visit. It's just part of the culture that they have there. Her particular large environment. It's quite fascinating to me that people will come and visit at 11 o'clock at night. It hasn't just happened once or twice. It's happened quite a few times. We got visitors. Really, this time of night? Because she's exactly 12 hours away from me. So it's 10 o'clock now for me, 10:20. So it's 10:20 at night for her. It's very convenient that we're remembering what her time is. Yeah. But no, we have to be careful of worrying because we think we should worry. Yeah. Because worrying makes us good people. So we worry just because we think we should. No, no. Why aren't we celebrating? We have no information. We don't know. This may be for something positive. I don't know. Like long lost relations that they didn't know existed, they discovered, or whatever. Who knows? I don't know. I can say something could be. She might be at a wedding or something. They go to weddings a lot. Weddings are a big part of. Oh, there's lots of positive reasons why she's not. Who knows? Who knows? I will assume positive and good, because I don't know, right? So I'm like, now I'm excited to hear what was going on, what was happening, instead of worrying. Why can't I be excited to find out what was the mystery and what happened? See, shifting perspective, perspective shifting as a skill is profound. And once we realize we get to choose, yes. In the meantime, all right, it may end up being something that's just, well, okay, the internet was out or the computer broke or whatever, right? It may be something like that. What's the point of me being stressed? Yeah. In the meantime, I like now. I'm assuming it's something exciting, and it turns out to be just a dud and nothing like that. Like irrelevancy. It doesn't matter. At least I've had the joy of anticipation. In the meantime, see, I get the value out of it. Okay, so it turns out to be something else. It wasn't exciting. Okay, I'm not losing anything. I gained that excitement. Whereas if I sit here and stress and fuss, I'm just wasting my time stressing and fussing over something which also might turn out to be either just a nothing or it could then turn out to be a positive. And then I've really wasted my time, see? But either way, I get benefit, whether it is positive or negative. I'm choosing a strategy that gives me value, whether it's true or not. This is part of wave impeccability. I've mentioned this many, many times. Here's a great example. I'm choosing deliberately a strategy, a way of being, a perspective, a mindset. Yes, I'm choosing to believe. Why? Because it gives me value. Doesn't matter whether it's going to be true or not. It's totally irrelevant. Anytime I'm having value, right? Yeah, yeah. We can get value out of anything, Norma. We can get value out of it. I realize we're not taught this. What I'm sharing is not part of our culture. I'm sharing a completely new and radical, not radical in the way of, political radical, but radical in the sense of severely different. This is a severely, radically different way of thinking, way of being. And it's very simple, but it is profound in the consequence. It changes our lives. Yes, exactly, Norma. Yes, yes. It's not my way necessarily, but okay, some of it is, but still, it's way of impeccability way. I rather don't make it about me personally. Just put it there. Uh, because everything that I share in one form or another, you can take the little parts and find them elsewhere. I just put it all together. And okay, yes, I did create some stuff and bring up some new stuff. At least to me, it's new. I don't know if it's anywhere else. It may be. I reinvent the wheel a lot. I've seen this time and time again, and that I do this because I figure things out. I make an effort to figure things out. I like to figure things out. It's a very useful skill. Doesn't matter if I reinvent the wheel. I'm practicing to figure things out, and it's a very great skill. So I benefit whether it's somebody else had done it or not. Doesn't matter either way. I benefit because I'm training my mind to things. And I was saying earlier to Norma, right? If we train our brains to figure things out, we are also training our brains not to be so reliant on memory. Most of the times, the things that we think we need to remember, we don't. We can just figure it out. And instead of filling up your hard drive with all the stuff that you don't need to remember, right? Rather train your computer to figure things out. And then when it happens, I'll figure it out. I don't have to rely on my memory. And my hard drive gets saved for things that are important to remember. Yes. And also to develop good habits. I never lost my keys. Let me say it again. I've never lost my keys. Locked them in the trunk once, but I never lost them. Why not? Because I make a very concerted effort to be massively disciplined when it comes to my keys. Yeah, and my knife too. Yeah, I'll show you. Show you. I've had this knife now for more than 20 years. Yes. I carry it around in my pocket. But when I'm using this knife, I cannot put it down on the table. I can't even do it just to demonstrate. I can't put it down on the table. No. It's either in my pocket or it's open and I'm using it. That's it. Right? One of the two things. Either in my pocket or I'm using it. Yeah. See, I can even pick it open. I got mad skills when it comes to knife opening. I had a knife store, that's why. But my point is, I said this, I said, I will never put this down anywhere. That's how you lose a knife. You put it down, you're busy working, you forget, you go off. If I put it down, it's in my pocket or it's in my hand and I'm using it. That's it. Those are only two options. Since I made that distinct effort to do so, and I was disciplined initially when I got the knife to do that, I never ever put it down. As a result, I never ever lost it, right? I did lose one before. It was in my pocket and I was on the ground doing stuff, sliding around, and was on carpet and it hooked on the carpet and it got pulled out of my pocket and I wasn't aware. Okay, stuff happens. Not the end of the world, right? But my point is, I never lost it through carelessness and forgetting it. Same with my keys. My keys are either where they live, like on my nightstand or their spot, or they're in my pocket. I can't put my keys down either. Can't do it. Can't do it. So again, I was just saying, practice being deliberate with our habits, being deliberate with our attention and our awareness, right? And you can do this. It's not a hard thing to do. It takes a little bit of doing, and then once you've got it down, it's not a problem, right? You see, I'm sitting with the thing in my hand here now. My hand won't just open and let it put it down. It won't let it do. We can train our brain. We can use our brain. It doesn't take much, right? And we can get out of these habits. Why Wave Impeccability focuses so much on habits. Habits are our big enemy. And when we develop positive, deliberate, conscious habits like this, I'm conscious about the habit, very conscious about it. Like when I have it in my hand, you know, like sometimes I have it out, like I'm working with the boxes, because that's mostly what I use the thing for, just opening boxes, and that's it. Boxes. I don't even always need it, but it makes it go easy. But so sometimes you go, I know, I'll put it in my pocket now. Sometimes it may be a bit more convenient to put it down, but it doesn't work for me. I can't do it. Because longer term, sooner or later, you're going to leave it. Right? So train ourselves, train the brain, train the brain. There's lots of skills we can do. And that's what Way of Impeccability is. It's not a belief system. It is a set of skills, a set of tools, a set of abilities, things we can learn, like this habit training. And the same thing instead of this habit with things like keys or whatever like this, right? What about the habit of just appreciation, the habit of worrying? See, like I was talking about earlier, we're in the habit of when things don't go the way we expect them to and the way we used to, we suddenly worry. Why can't it be positive? And just as well be positive. I have no idea. It's just unnecessary fear. We're so afraid it's going to be. I don't know. Trust. Venus not been here before. This is not the first time this has happened. Been other times that Venus was here. I think about a week ago, or at least I know I did half of a show. She came off and through. Right. So you just have to trust. Just have to trust. Just have to trust. Yeah. All right. So let me just say, missing you, Bina. Yeah, your messenger so she knows. That's opportunity to send some love. See, let her know that that's important. Well, tell her when she's here. We are important. I was thinking of something before I start reading. What I'm going to do, we were going to reread chapter 40, the last chapter of book one. This is a very important chapter to Bina. And we got halfway and then we couldn't finish, then we started again and other stuff happened. So just a lot of stuff that went on and we couldn't get. So this is an important chapter to Bina, really a life-changing chapter for Bina, big deal for her. So we're going to redo it when Bina comes. So today I want to start on book two, chapter one of book two. What I want to share though is just my thought of the day. Bina shares her thought of the day. And I was thinking, yes, just one of those small things, yes. And I put it down as a quote in my quote file. If each and every one of us can be a significant positive difference in the lives of just two people, what a I'll put the quote in comments. Yeah, what happens? What happens? Yeah, it's a big deal. What happens? Each and every one of us can be a significant positive difference in the lives of just two people. What happens? If each and every one of us think it through to the end. See, this is one of our most powerful tools in Wave Impeccability. Thinking things through to the end. When we write it, it's to the end in all caps and it's all hyphenated. It's a thing. It's thinking things through to the end. When we think it through to the end, if each and every one of us is a significant positive difference in the lives of two people, that would mean that there are going to be more people making a positive difference than receiving, correct? Which means that if I'm picking people to have a positive difference, at some point, if we all do this, I'm going to, on average, all of us will be also receiving positive difference as well as giving it, correct? Because if we did it for one, then we can just be 50-50. Yes. If we just only did it to one person, we can have 50% of the world doing the positive difference, giving it, and the other 50% receiving it. But if we do it for two people and all of us are doing it, well, then at some point we also will be receiving that. So just think of how transformative this will be to our world. We say, but what can we do? All you got to do is make a positive difference, even if it's just to one person that makes a huge difference, but to two, that's it. And you can do this. You don't have to provide some big things, not like a typical charity thing. You can just be nice. Being a nice, good, regular friend makes a positive difference, doesn't it? See, nice, simple. Don't have to be magical, but when you think it through. We all did this. Very powerful, right? And likewise, when we add to that, just do not be a negative difference in even one life. Zero. That's it. If we can be positive, don't have to even be positive. We can just be not negative. We will change the world. It's amazing. Just don't be negative. Don't be stressed. Don't be bothered. Don't be fussed. Don't get irritated. Don't get annoyed, etc. Like that. Train your brain. You don't need to do that. We so assume that we should. That's a narcissist culture. That somebody who's a narcissist who is got poor character made this into something that is acceptable and okay and supposed to be, and you should get irritated, you should get annoyed. Nonsense. Nonsense. This is crappy character. Sorry. Sorry. Don't be assuming their rules to justify their nonsense. Yeah, as you are. No, 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 no. Let's not do that. Let us not do that. Yes. So that's why impeccability, changing the way we live, changing our rules. Very powerful stuff. Very simple, very powerful. All right, wonderful, Norma. So I'm going to read. Now, Norma, I know you said you were cooking, but I am keen for you to also just throw your eye on the screen for a few minutes here. I want to just share that you can see the art. The art is a big deal to me, and like I said, on these books, I am it's going to be included in the books. Um, I didn't do it with the other books. Well, they didn't call for it. They don't have art in them. I did when I published the articles, and well, some of them have articles like too, but these were all published individually, right? Because they were responding to people's questions. And when I posted the posts, I always included art, and it's a big deal for me. All my posts, I've got hundreds. I mean, really, like literally hundreds and hundreds of posts, multiple hundreds, and I think I've got as drafts. It's about 800 of them sitting there waiting to be published. So I got a lot of material. I'm very productive. Share screen. All right. So there's going to be that book cover that I shared will be above this, so you'll see that beautiful cover. At least I think it's very beautiful. Um, I think yes, the latest update. I know I asked people for it, but it's got to be fixed. The one I shared wasn't sorted like this. You see, this one is got this separated from the A with a background, and what the designer's still got to do is finalize this. He's got to make this a little bigger. It's just a little small in proportion to this. Like if it was a work of art, this is a bit top heavy now, so this needs to go bigger and come down just a little bit, and also the A must come down. So there's a matter of balance. The reason that, for those of you, just while I'm on this, the reason I want this like this rather than in the white, somebody said, well, mostly people who said with the white, no background, it's more legible. I don't want my name to be an emphasis for the eye, right? Because when you're seeing this cover, you're going to be seeing it small. Yeah, you won't be able to read it clearly like this. You'll see it as a thumbnail. Let's see. It is something like this. Even smaller, you'll just see the one side of it, right? So I don't want my name to be standing out here. Now, I want this to be Ask Biella. My name is not important. I'm not a known name author, so nobody's going to say, oh, it's still Sebastian book. Oh, let me get it. At least not now. Later, maybe, yes, but not now. So I don't want your eye coming down here with that white. Right? I just want it to be, okay, it's part of the book, and it's not, this is significant. Ask Biella, questions answered. I'd actually like the questions answered a little bigger, but no, actually, this wasn't the final cover there, so it just happened to be the first one that shows there. That one, he did make it bigger, actually. And this one, the B went over the A, and it wasn't right, and the subtitle isn't in bold. That should be bigger too. But the key point is that the cover is to draw your attention, right? So you scrolling through Amazon, and it's there, and they say other books bought or whatever, and there's 6 different covers there, right? Hopefully this is going to stand out. Those eyes are like, oh, hello, hello. I mean, I grab you, right? This is a very powerful picture, this. And now the next thing, that once your attention is grabbed, what I want from you, I want you to actually read the title. My name is irrelevant. It's not going to get you to look further into the book, but if you read Ask Biella, questions answered. Oh, what kind of questions? And then it says in the subtitle, says what kind of questions. But now I have to click on it to see whatever the questions are, right? I have to open it up and see, right? And then look further. And that's what the point of the cover is. The cover is to get your attention and get you to look further. My name does nothing. I'm not a famous author. If I was Stephen King or something, okay, then you put Stephen King big in the title, doesn't matter. People will, if I'm a Stephen King fan, I'll just buy it because it's a latest Stephen King book, right? Or whatever. So it's secondary. So we have to be, clarity of intent. Know what you're doing. Know what you're doing. Oh, see, he had the name on the top. This was the first one that he did, the name right on the top. And again, it takes up valuable space in this space here where the title and the subtitle can be bigger. So important stuff, important stuff. And, it's fascinating. I specifically said in my instructions, put my name at the bottom. No, just doesn't read that, puts the name at the top. People don't listen. It fascinates me. It fascinates me. You're a professional. Come on. You're looking to do something for the client, and you don't read the instructions. I did very clearly. I put a little dash and said, do this, dash, do that. Nope. All right. Anyway, the world does not work the way we think it does. It does not work, right? And I have another book called 50 Ways to Be Smarter Using Opposite. Yeah, right. Here's the book, right? 50 Ways to Be Smarter Using Opposite. I think it's up on the title there somewhere. Yeah. Right? 50 ways to be smarter with opposite. That should be using opposite, not with opposite. But anyway, um, this is yeah. Oh yeah, it is 50 ways to be smarter using opposite. Yeah, exactly. And in this book, one of the ways to be smarter using opposite is to not expect rationality and reason as a default. I'm not saying expect unreason and irrationally, but be open to it. There are many reasons why people will do things that are irrational. And most of the time, simply because they're just lazy and they just go with the first thing that pops into their head, and they don't want to make the effort to think it through and look at the other options, and they just go with it. And it's not always the rational thing. The first thing that pops into our head isn't always the best thing. It seldom is actually. Yeah. But we trained to think it is good because what happened at school? The teacher asks a question, and it's the one who puts their hand up first that gets the reward from the teacher. Oh, very good, Mary. Or what's her name? Hermione. Very good, Hermione. Yeah, Hermione was, smart aleck, and she knew everything, but it didn't make her wise necessarily. Just made her informative, you know, or informed. Just had a good hard drive. But being thoughtful, this is a much greater skill than having lots of information at our command. We're so focused on this that it's a poor deal. All right, so here's the book. We get to chapter 1. It's a bit about Biala, and this is the start. I might change this picture. This is the very first picture here, and I think I'd like it was about reverse self-importance, right? And is false modesty a good thing? So a picture that has some connectivity to the thing. But I would like a picture of the very first one that shows Biala to be a bit more representative, a nicer picture of Biala, one that can represent Biala. Biala doesn't have a specific look in my mind, yes, but it's very hard for me to get that in from to get it created. I mean, I've tried. Well, I mean, you could. If I go, oh, it doesn't show. I mean, yeah, you can see all of the things that I've tried, right? And these are all different possibilities and different variations. And that's using that software. Where's the other one that I was with? Yeah, see, trying all sorts of different ways to get different things. So, and it doesn't matter what I tell the AI, it doesn't listen. This picture here, by the way, open it up. Now we're getting closer to how I imagine Biala. Right? This isn't quite exactly right yet, but it's coming. Biala has kind of a long head, so this should be stretched out a little bit. It's still very wide up the top here. It's got kind of a narrowish, longer head. Yeah, but this is pretty good. This is as close as it can come. And this picture, yeah, I'm keen to know what you think of it, Norma, because likely this is going to be the cover picture for book 2. Right. I mean, unless I can find a way to improve it. Now look here. See, each row of 4 is when I give the prompt here and I change all the parameters. It gives me these. It gives me 4 at a time. Right. How it comes up with it's like see, they're all different. And yeah, some came that were a little bitty. I said use this face now as the prompt. Yeah, I'll show you what I mean. Right. Okay, so I click generate. I'm just going to leave it the same as before. Yeah. Why is it? Oh, it's set on 1. I want it on 4. But it takes a while. Right. So to create this art, people think, oh yeah, but the computer does it for you. It's a lot of work. No matter whether the computer does it for you or not. It's a load of work. You have to put in the positive prompt. You have to put in the negative prompt. And then, I'm using this as a reference image, and you got to decide how much you want it, how strong the influence is. And there's other factors that come into it, like there's a filter. In this case, I have no filters. You can have it filtered in an art style, like watercolor or anime or cartoon or whatever. Right? Oh, that's nice. That's nice. That's nice. That's a nice picture. I do want a picture that where Biala's, or at least this representation, is looking directly into the camera. But this has a nice, thoughtful look to it. And I'm trying to get all of the qualities that Biala represents to be represented in the picture, right? I mean, she's got kindness, she's got nobility, she's got generosity, she's got sobriety, sophistication, sensibility, generosity, thoughtfulness, insightfulness, discernment, etc. I want all of that to show. This is very difficult, right? Plus, also, the AI defaults. Doesn't matter what you do, it defaults to showing very young, like teenager, early 20s. That's what it goes. Doesn't matter if you say older. And then when you say older, then it makes it very old again. It's very hard to get somebody like Biala's. I try not to define her age because they live longer over there. But Biala's like late 30s, early 40s, but she looks still very youthful, right? I mean, she doesn't look like she's that age from a purely physical point of view. So it's hard to have a face that represents youthfulness and aliveness and good character, but also that has the wisdom and the insightfulness and the thoughtfulness and sophistication. I mean, Biala's like off the chart sophisticated. So this does a pretty good job. This does a pretty good job. This is very nice. I really like this stuff. I may even use this. This is very cool. I'm keen to know what you think of this, Norma. But I wanted to show where it is for. For whatever reason, I had it set on full, and it for some reason came back to one. There it did again. I guess it's just a mouse moving over. So typically, when I generate, I get 4 at a time, and it's from the same exact prompt. I haven't changed anything now, right? I'm just doing the same thing exactly over, and you get different results. See, Einstein, I'm not crazy. Einstein said if you do the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, you're crazy. It's the definition of insanity. But no, right? Some things just you can many things you do over and over again, and in this case, it's set up to actually expect different results. Right? I mean, you think it would be very precise. Yeah, I'm saying it, and this is exact. No, it's not. It's a very imprecise business, this way of creating art. Now, there were some other pictures while it's thinking I want to share that for a long time, I tried to get more, see all the variations. I'm very thorough and very diligent, as you can see. And that was giving me all weird stuff. Something I changed, I don't know what, and I started getting these double heads. No idea. Anyway, I tried to get. Wow, I did more than I realized. I couldn't get to sleep, so I got caught up doing this. I was. Let me show you. Show you. Oh, well, let me go that far back. Oh, oh, I go even further back. It showed me a face similar to this, which was really very artistic and very nice. Uh, I'll pull it up here in a second. Yeah, this one. It just came randomly. Just came, and it showed. Man, I like this art style. Right, the face isn't quite exactly right. With Biala, it's showing some character traits which are they have become commonly popular, but they don't represent Biala. Like you see the little bit of poutiness and a little bit of in the eyes, but of insecurity, stuff like this, right? Not part of Biala. So I tried to get this. This is also another variation of this. Very nice. But I also want this looking into the camera, right? I'd almost look into the camera, but now you get, I don't know what went here, but you don't get that moreness that I'm looking for. I mean, I'm saving these are good, but tons of other ones. So I tried to get them to say, okay, look more into the camera. This is very nice. I like this art style. And then for some reason, this was from another program that came up. And then this one, I like this one with a little bit more color, right? But again, not looking into the camera. So when I said I used that one as a reference, and I said, yeah, to this program, right? I say, please give me more like this, give me more. And there were even more below this, a whole ton. It's not giving all of them now, right? And I just keep trying. Say, look into the camera. No, and then it will sometimes do it, sometimes not. And look the other way. This doesn't listen. It's amazing. And then you get all of the stuff out. Anyway, just saying that when it comes to this stuff, a lot of work involved. Right? Tons of it to get what you want. Sometimes you get lucky and you get stuff like the cover picture that was on there. I tried and tried and tried, and all of a sudden it just popped this out. completely different to whatever was before. And I still haven't been able to get it similar. I keep saying, use this as a reference, give me the similar. No, don't do it. No, very unique, very unique. All right, no problem, no problem. Like a blue eye is better than a brown. Yes, yes, yes. When it does come with the blue eyes, it's very nice in that picture. Correct, correct. I agree. I agree. That the blue eyes there is a big deal. Let's see if we go to the top here. Yes, I think there were some. Yeah, like this one. See, this one has the blue eyes, and this one too. Yeah, exactly. This is the latest ones that produced now. So you see, it gave me four there. And okay, these aren't as blue as they might be, but that's okay too. I don't want to make a thing out of blue eyes. You know what I mean? We overemphasize blue eyes. And I don't necessarily have Biala have the blue eyes. But yes, there's a little bit of harshness showing here. Biala has more kindness, right? Yes, she's been a bit stern and sober, showing sobriety. But I think that you see, yeah, it's softer and gentler, see, but still has that sophistication and the wisdom. So I prefer this one to the other one. Right? You see what I'm saying? The difference between the two? It's subtle, it's small, but it's a big deal, right? Now this one, it's a nice picture, and 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 I'll save it. Okay, the eye's a bit off. No, I can't use it, right? I mean, this looks like something wrong with the eyes. If I get that. But this could be Nora, for instance. Yes. So I can use them in other ways. A little too young for Ursula, but the eyes are too off. Yeah, so I want to use. And this one, yeah, she just looks like she doesn't have that depth of that Biala requires. I mean, this is just a face, right? I mean, this you have no real doesn't give you really any idea as to character. Could be anything, just a face. I don't often get a group ones. Well, I'm not asking for group ones, but this is quite interesting in that this isn't bad as a group. This I could use this as a group one. As it's hard to get group. It's hard to get group images. It's very difficult. Yeah, I don't care for the clothing and all that. It's like and the AI it tends to default to giving you models. I put in my negative prompts that this is all stuff that I don't want. Right? I don't want pouty lips. I don't want Botox lips. And this is for Biala now. And I don't want them looking like Angelina Jolie because that happens a lot. I don't want smug, and I don't want sarcastic. I don't want self-satisfied. No, you have to say what you don't want. I said model in here somewhere. It's model. Yeah, model looks. I don't want model looks. Model looks. I'm interested in model looks. Not what I'm after. Anyway, so this is pretty cool that, trial and error, trial and error. I mean, you'd say, so wouldn't it have been easier if you just painted it yourself? Yes, it would be if I actually had the skills to do it. I don't, and I suppose I could learn it, but the time and effort it takes to learn it with AI now, this works for me. This works for me. All right, Norma, see you later. See you later. All right, so let's read. Let's read. And yes, I will change this picture. I have tons now that I can put in here that I will rather put in there. I mean, see, I got a whole bunch in there. I like that one, but I don't not as the first one. I put in there. See, I'm trying to get Biala has a longer face, but this one here is a longer face, but it's still got that triangleness to it. I can't get the AI to make the face like a rectangle. I mean, I know my cheeks make my face look round, but if you actually take my head shape, dimensionality, I have a rectangular head. It's narrow and long. All right. Look at these. These are all ones that I've chosen, put in my short list here, right, that I picked out, that came out. Uh, Again, they almost, almost. And that's a nice one. That's a nice look too. See the cover, the face was looking the other way. Boy, to get it to be faced this way, but still looking to the camera. It took me forever to try and get that. You see here again, it's from this side. I want it the other way. That's kind of a nice one too here. But all these are potentially. But I like the power of this. I mean, that's nice, but this grabs you. This grabs you. It's like, hello, whoa, whoa, and that's what I want for the cover. You want to be grabbed. You want to stop people. Yes, to stop people. Very important. Hey, did I now not save those? Seem like it. If you don't remember to save things, then they get lost. Just to be disciplined. And you have to be disciplined on the stuff, because you forget sometimes. Then you don't remember that it was there. Very important to be disciplined. I mean, usually I typically am. So, okay, these were the latest 4 now. Maybe be another one. That's kind of nice. Kind of nice. I mean, this I might just use as just as filler in the article. No, eyes off. Pity, pity. Not that Biella has to be perfect, but I don't want to be disconcerting. And to me, Biella's not necessarily classically, typically beautiful. She's beautiful because she has good character. Yes, and this most of my friends, to me, they're very beautiful. Like Norma. Norma's very beautiful to me. I don't think Norma is a supermodel, but it doesn't matter to me. Norma is very beautiful, right? Because I'm looking at character. Now it's very hard to get this to show because the AI tends to default and it's making this smooth complexion and all this stuff. And it's making them less than real. I just have to accept that. But see, and in this now, okay, here and there's a bit of this here, and this it's taking that super perfectionness away. See, but this one, she's a bit young here, right? See, compared to the other one, so it's a very nice image. I'd like the eyes to be a little clearer and more focused, right? I mean, these look like there's a bit of residual pain behind this. You know what I mean? Like upsetness. Not necessarily at the moment, but as part of the way of being. That's not Biella. She's got her stuff sorted. Her eyes are clear, like in the cover photo. Yes. So this one, nope, doesn't quite work. Yes, it's almost there. It's very close, but not there. I mean, I'll save it anyway. But just if I need multiples to put in. But yeah, little things. My perception is very fine on this. I can actually articulate what's wrong with it. But most of the time, we just know intuitively, right? And we feel it. We feel it. We don't necessarily notice it consciously, but we feel it. I want to see this one without stuff. Again, the eyes a bit off. Yeah, a little bit too much attitude in this one. Like that modelly attitude, or I'm wonderful, I'm beautiful type of a thing. Not that they're egotistical necessarily, but that's kind of the vibe. So this is not Biella. She's relaxed. This one is posing. She's consciously doing something. At least this is what the picture's representing, and it's very common. Not what I want. Not what I want. I am particular. All right. I'm getting distracted, and we're not reading the reading. I think Norma's left anyway. But I'm keen to know what you think. Always, Norma. Yeah, love your opinions. Anybody else too? Maybe I'm being overly fussy, but this is what gives me joy. That particularness. That's how Biella got to be created. The whole culture is about not looks, obviously. It's about what it represents. It's about character. Yes. And you can't believe things like this. If you find yourself being irritated or annoyed at nonsense, you got to change it. That's what the whole culture on nobilia. It's what nobilia living is all about. Is dealing with these things, right? False modesty. It's a big issue on nobilia. Very big issue because they treasure modesty and humility, but not false modesty and not false humility or excessive humility, right? It's always about appropriateness. So this is a very important topic here. Very, very important for Biella. And I like this where, and the reason I like this picture for false modesty is because there is some assertiveness in terms of claiming moreness, right? This picture to me represents somebody who is saying, "Hey, I have something, and I have a bit of pride in it, but I'm not prideful, right?" So this represents modesty, but not false modesty, and it does have that appropriate self pride, self confidence, self assuredness involved, right? Like this person says, I am able, I am competent, I have moreness, yes, but there's no arrogance in me. It's no overinflation, no ego, right? So it's a very good picture for this. I may leave it. I may leave it. I'll consult with my consultant and advisor. I like to get second opinions. I'll check. Bina is very good for this type of things. And Norma, everybody, Bina knows what the intent is. She's immersed in the deeper inness of things, right? So that becomes helpful. All right, reverse self-importance. Here we go. Wow, a whole hour and we're starting reading. Sorry, people. That's the way it goes. All right, reverse self-importance. Is false modesty a good thing? Dear E, I'm a bit cautious with the term false modesty. Typically, what is meant is a kind of humility or self-deprecation, playing down the self in some way. But the inclusion of the word false can also be meant in terms of someone pretending to be modest, and at certain extent. However, I am assuming that's not what you mean. I'd like to come at this kind of modesty, mindset, or attitude from the angle of excessive modesty, as that makes more sense to me when it comes to how it usually manifests in behavior. And again, Biala is giving more. Yes, because the person asked this question, is false modesty a good thing? She could have just said no. End of story. Yes. But people ask questions and what they say and what they mean not necessarily the same thing. This is capital H hearing. We need to practice and train, and we can practice and train our hearing ability to hear what people mean rather than what they actually say. Yeah, I mean, if I take it literally and say no, and this is rather obvious, it's false. How can it be good if it's false? Yeah? See, it's like the question answers itself. So it's inherently already answered right in the question, right? I mean, if you have 100 questions, right, you may even ignore this because, well, it's self-explanatory. But there's a moreness behind it. Yes, people feel awkward asking what they really want to ask. So now we're going to get to that moreness, that layeredness, right? This is what discernment is all about. Place hearing is all about, and it's not only what people mean, but sometimes it's what they don't say that matters. Yes, what they might say is, am I exhibiting false modesty without even realizing or knowing it or aware? Right? They become aware of this idea, not fully aware. They need more awareness, and that's what Biala is providing. It's very, very powerful, very magical. What Biala does is very, very considered in this. All right. I'd like to come at this kind of modesty mindset or attitude from the angle of excessive modesty, as that makes more sense to me when it comes to how it actually manifests in behavior. Excessive modesty rather than false modesty, which excessive would be a kind of a false. You see, and that's the question. It's kind of a, right? So we always have to look at that kind of a, very helpful. One would think that there could not be such a thing as excessive modesty, but I do believe it's all too common, especially in those who truly try to always be good, like Norma. It seems like it would be admirable to be excessively modest, but actually it's very limiting and restricting, as it limits action and doing, and thus learning and growing. Even worse, when one thinks it through, it's actually just another form of self-importance. It's like we're saying, look at me, I'm so marvelously unself-important that I can hide all my talents and ability and never ever show them to anyone. Have to be very careful of ego. Ego is a tool, but it can be very sneaky tool too. Yes. Ego is a tool in more ways than one. I love that expression. It's so short. It's 4 words. Ego is a tool. But it could mean it as in tool, as in a knucklehead and silly, foolish, right? Not nice, a-hole. Or it can mean tool as like a screwdriver tool. Yes, something to use. And it's both. Yes, we must realize this. Ego is both an idiot and foolish and a negative tool, and it's also a positive. And like a tool, like my knife is a tool, can be used positively or negatively. Both ways. Same with ego. What prompts? Okay, so it says, "Look at me," which also means not sharing, right? This where they're saying this false modesty. Look at me, I'm so marvelous, I'm self-important that I can hide all my talents and abilities and never ever show them to anyone. Which also means not sharing. What prompts this? It could come from a very real and true desire to not be self-important and egotistic, or it could come from fear. What? It could come from fear. Fear of performance, of evaluation, of attention, of ridicule, and many more fears along those lines. Fear is often another way self-importance distorts us. Yes? We don't want to look bad. We don't want to be seen to be stupid. Right? This is all ego nonsense. Why? Why would we not want to be seen to be stupid? It's just the reality. We're all stupid compared to the universe. Why would we want to hide reality? It's like saying, well, let's pretend the sky doesn't exist. It's idiotic, right? And also, if we if we can't be seen to be wrong or ignorant, how are we possibly going to learn? This is a basic criteria for learning is to be aware that you don't know. That's why you learn, because you don't know, because you are ignorant, or because you can be wrong simply because you don't know what is right. That's why you learn, so that you're not wrong. It's not a negative, it's just a fact of life, right? But ego distorts us. Right? We don't want to have this fear of performance, of evaluation, of attention, of ridicule, etc. It's all ego rubbish and nonsense. For me, I say, please point out if I'm wrong. You tell me I'm right. It's just to boost my ego, which I don't have, so it doesn't mean anything to me. You're telling me what I already know. Yes, I know I'm right. That's why I said it, because I believe it's right. Yeah, you're not adding, right? You're not adding to anything at all. But if you tell me I'm wrong, oh really? Well, first of all, you're gonna have to justify it. I'm just gonna take your word for it because I really make an effort to have what I say. It's always backed up. It's always a big moreness, like an iceberg, right? You just see the little tip on the top, but there's a lot underneath it. Well, that's how it is for me. So if you can say I'm wrong, I want to know why, because I'm very scrupulous when it comes to finding out why. So I'm going to thoroughly test and put you through the ringer to make sure that your wrong is justified. And if it turns out to be so, I'll say thank you very, 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 very much. Now I learned something. Thank you. That added to me. Damn right. Do anything. I mean, it's nice to get that feedback sometimes because, well, sometimes it's just, well, I feel like this, and I'm assuming that, like, if I'm talking about people's opinions, and then you tell me, yes, I'm right, like if I said, well, I think this is a cool picture. Generally, I think most people would say, yeah, it's kind of cool, right? Now, if you tell me I'm right, I'm getting feedback. I'm getting statistical data. That's different, right? It's not about whether I'm actually right or wrong. It's simply a matter of more accuracy. It's a different thing. All right. Many of these pictures may get changed. I just put them in the meantime. This is my next project, is to go through all of them and look at what other pictures I have and say, do I have a better picture than this, like this one? It's okay, but compared to some of the other pictures, it's a bit lackluster, relative. Yes, relative. So I may or may not keep it. All right. So with this fear of evaluation, this is a big deal. Are these fears valid, right? The fear of performance, of evaluation, of attention, of ridicule, and so on. Are they valid? Yeah. They only seem valid if one places oneself and the actions in question in the greatest fear. But that's inaccurate because our actions are very seldom regarded in that context. Where it matters is our own and perhaps the immediate connecting context. If our actions have value to us, then great. That's what matters. If perhaps, just perhaps, they might have value to someone else, then that's wonderful. Bonus. Whether or not they have merit or can stand up in the greater arena doesn't matter. It's where we are at in this moment in time and space. That's the truth and value which benefits us right now and here. Yeah, and it's very important, very big point. Perhaps someone else who is at the same place or stage in their life will also benefit. Keeping this context in mind makes doing less of a problem, as it now makes more sense. Yeah, comma. I like commas, but not when they're inappropriate. Beneficial action. The benefits of action are many, especially if we come from the perspective of this is where I am at right now. Feedback we get could very likely show us a new view on our actions, maybe from an angle we hadn't considered yet. It's how we grow and learn. We have to get input from outside our zones, from beyond our conceptions, from outside our bubbles. Excessive modesty is simply a prism. It's usually just vain self-indulgence. If we were to act and do, and someone were to say, you think yourself so, blah, blah, perhaps we would then realize, well, so what? It's understanding our motives which makes all the difference. Excessive modesty and the resultant lack of action because of it usually occurs because a compelling reason for acting cannot be found. Then implied reason of self-importance presents itself. Wow, wow, very, very powerful sentence here. That one actually could use a lot of unpacking, but I'm not going to get into the huge, deep discernments today. I like to do that with someone like, yeah, to go back and forth on that would be that. But still, it's a very profound thing there. Excessive modesty and the resultant lack of action because of it usually occurs because a compelling reason for acting cannot be found. Then the implied reason of self-importance presents itself. A lot of times we don't have a reason, and then we just assume, well, that has to be because I'm protecting my ego. But that's how insecure ego is. It makes up reasons for us. Terrible. If we realize, however, that sharing and giving of ourselves is always valuable to at least someone, us, it has a very good chance of being valuable to others who find themselves in similar situations. And we don't have to do it because it's valuable to others. We do it because it's valuable to us. The slight alteration of perspective on oneself is all that's sometimes needed for a fresh look and then to acquire new and different viewpoints, thus moving on down the road of learning and growth. Yes. So this is important, simple things. Don't always be doing things for ego reasons. Just do them because they give you value, as in self-enjoyment. Traversing down the path of learning and growth sometimes requires brazenness as an experiment and to try out new and different values, attitudes, beliefs, and perspectives. Wow, brazenness, yes. Oh, so traversing down the path of learning and growth sometimes requires brazenness as we experiment and try out new and different values, attitudes, beliefs, and perspectives. Oxford comma, thank you. Knowing this is what you are doing makes all the difference, as that knowing banishes the ugly specter of self-importance. Trust your own goodness, and trust that you won't act from silly motives, and thus act and do. Yes, yes. Trust your own motives. Trust and thus act and do. Even when you can't immediately see why. The actions and doings will usually reveal the why, and usually that why is quite magical. Delighting in yourself and enjoying who and what you currently are is not self-importance. It's just simply part of loving and enjoying the universe. For are you not also a part of that incredible marvel that is the universe? Yeah, yes you are. Yes you are. You are part of that magical marvelousness that is the universe. You absolutely are. Yes. Look at the hashtags. Yes. Hashtag Auspiala, hashtag fear, hashtag goodness, innocence, yes. Humility, modesty, personal development. So this is part of our innocence and our humility. You mustn't overreact to this. And keep your innocence, keep your humility. And don't make it into a bad thing. Use it appropriately. All right, chapter 2, inadvertent learning. Where does our applied learning come from? I have no idea what this question means. We'll see what Biala says. Right away. What do you mean applied learning? Very interesting. Diala seems to know. Dear S, she says, it seems most of our applied learning comes from assimilation. Ah, wow, right off the bat, Diala's got my attention. Assimilation. Oh, big word there. I mean, from our dictionary of power, this word assimilation is a very important concept to be aware of, right? But it's in the dictionary of power. It's a very important, very, very important concept. We don't even realize, we're not aware that we assimilate. We assimilate so much. Inadvertent assimilation is a huge issue. Big deal, big deal. Important in way of applicability. What we believe and what we do is for the most part not a product of study. Wow! Another massive, massive, massive life transformative statement from Vienna. It's obvious once he says it, but was it obvious? Was it obvious? Was it something that you were acutely aware of that was in your consciousness that you knew before she said it? No, not necessarily. Right? But when she says, well, yeah, duh. But that's the point of this, right? Making the obvious obvious is a profound skill. It's a very big deal. Very, very big. It's what I do in wave impeccability. It's mostly what I do there. This, my contribution is making the obvious obvious. Because yes, it's obvious once it's obvious, but it wasn't obvious before it became obvious. In that moment, there's that retroactive changing of the past. Oh, but I knew it. No, you didn't. I just made it obvious, and then you knew it retroactive. Magical thing, obviousness. Anyway, what we believe and what we do is for the most part not a product of study, nor resulting from deliberate efforts of attention and awareness, but rather what we believe and do are mostly indirectly or inadvertently acquired. Our actions coming from social sources more than direct acquisition. The same applies to perceptions and values. Any idea or notion which seems valid is easily adopted if it comes from a regarded source. If popular within groups regarded as like-minded or cool, is valid. The actual validity doesn't matter much. Occasionally, points come along which are apparently irrefutable. These are eagerly adopted as they give a huge ego and image boost, even though they upset the status quo. These points are mostly adopted for the purpose of being able to throw them at others with the intent of, look how clever I am. This is possibly the universe's way of tricking lazy-minded people into adopting new ideas. Unconscious assimilation. Points or ideas which are difficult to argue against are most prized. Popularity is another key factor. All of this happens to the individual without conscious thought, for the most part. They may think when an idea comes their way, oh, that's cool, or something similar, but the points and ideas are just adopted there and then, usually anyway. When it comes to the acquisition of ideas and values, the same underlying structure is in play as for product adoption and usage. This mechanism could be used to beneficial effect if cool sounding, soundbiteable, and irrefutable points are popularized. If this is applied to points and perceptions, which then introduce new options for the individual and raise awareness. That's a big deal. Now, wow. The mechanism itself doesn't matter and will eventually be irrelevant. However, often we are guilty of inadvertent assimilation. How often do we simply subscribe to ideas without thinking them through all the way to the end? Yeah, got a bit carried away with your capital. Or purely because they are cool. Yeah. How often are we guilty of inadvertent assimilation? How often do we simply subscribe to ideas without thinking them all the way through? And there I must put. I'm not going to capitalize all of these as we would normally do, right? Just for capitalize to the end. For purely because they are cool. Yeah. So that's where our applied learning comes from, assimilation. Yes. We do stuff which is the applied part of what we've learned, not because we've consciously and deliberately learned it. No, because we've assimilated. It's a subtle point, actually, that's a very interesting chapter because if you just read it and you're not used to Biala, you may not get what she's talking about. Same with the first one. I'm thinking I want to put a different chapter for the first one. And I think this one, I want to move this actually. Can we use confirmation bias to positive effect? It is a huge part of wave impeccability. It's a very big deal to do so. Of course, we need to be cautious with it because it's a bias, but still can be done. It's huge, yes. And this is what Biala says, dear E, I definitely believe so. If done with appropriate awareness. Now, yeah, I mean, with appropriate awareness, and I actually need to italicize that. The benefits are potentially incalculable. Yes. So I'm going to make this chapter one. What is the picture I have here? All right, so I'll have to change this picture. But in the meantime, now look at this, by the way, anybody watching, if you ever were interested, if you're writing, you're ever interested in Scrivener, watch what I can do now. I can take this chapter and simply drag it up there, and I make sure to have the line be right. And because otherwise, if I put it right, I could put it as a subsection for whatever I'm dragging into. So you have to make sure the line goes all the way to the left. Right? It's a little bit fiddly, and sometimes my mouse moves, and then I end up and then you just drag it out and put it again. So now, of course, I got to change these the chapter headings, to adjust that. Now I put in these numbers, and mostly people will not. I like them in there, but mostly they won't, and this will automatically update. You can have that too, where you set this automatically. I don't have it. I like to have it in here. So that's 3, 6, boom, delete 2, 2, and this becomes chapter 1. But still, you can, like I said, it's only because of the way I do titles and chapter headings. I don't have these two done automatically, and it's because I like them to show, and I want this you can have as your name of your chapter, and I don't. I want this to be the name of the chapter, so I have that. It's a technical reasons the way printing is normally done. It's become a default now where chapters don't have titles. It fascinates me. Absolutely fascinates me. To me, chapter titles are very important. Provide that overview context, connectivity to the mourners because of that, right? Now, in this case, I don't have that. I have these subtitles, but they subtitles, not chapter titles, they're subheadings, right? It doesn't reflect the entire article. It only represents this section and then overall goodness. Now, yes, it will continue further down. Positive bias. We tend to think this is right there. There's 50 ways to be opposite. Another one. Using 50 ways to be smarter using opposite. Yes. We are so in the habit of thinking of bias as negative. But no. It can be positive. Yes. And actually I'm just gonna put this whole chapter. I'm just gonna duplicate it in the other book. I'll make some comments on it. I won't leave it entirely exactly as so, but I'll say here's an example, right? So yeah, I'm repeating a little bit, but not everybody's going to read the Ask Biala book, and all the Ask Biala readers aren't necessarily going to read this book, so it doesn't matter. Right? It's overlapping a little bit. This is very important because we hear the word bias, and it's got this negative connotation to it, but it's a connotation simply because of common usage. It doesn't mean it's always so. It is a distortion, yes, but bias is usually a negative distortion, not always. It's like the word discrimination. Actually, to have the quality of discrimination as an ability is very positive. To be able to discriminate is to be able to make fine distinctions. Yes. Like when you apply it to art, for instance, or evaluating antiques or anything like this, or people. Yes, you want this ability to be discriminating. Discrimination as a negative is when you discriminate according to false criteria, such as race and gender and so on, right? Age, whatever. Right? So it's false. That's the problem, not the discrimination itself. To be discriminating is a very positive quality. Discrimination on itself is, again, it's one of those things that it's positive and negative. Matter of fact, I think I will add that as a chapter too. Yeah. It's a very important thing to understand, right? That don't just jump to assumptions of word usage. Yes. So discriminating, discrimination. I, I love these titles in this. The book is about philosophy of opposite, right? I mean, that's really what its title should be, but the clickbaity title is 50 Ways to Be Smarter emphasize, using opposite. So when you say discriminating, discrimination, it has that opposite, yes, built into it, that range. I'm applying discrimination to discrimination. I'm discriminating discrimination, but discriminating in the sense of the positive. I'm not discriminating against it in the negative way, typically. It's multi-layeredness. I like that. That really helps. But also to understand that we need to know what words mean and not go by their common usage, right? Be aware of them more. This is an opposite thing to say that just because a word is used one way, let's go into the moreness and look at it from the other side. Oh, yeah, now that you mention it. Oh, okay, I get it. Good. And now suddenly you've opened up a whole new world. Then you made yourself smart. That's the whole point of it. Is to be smart. To be smarter. Very cool. Well done. So are we at 40 already now? Yeah. Wow, at 41 already. I forgot to add in the numbers. This is very cool. I had so many of these and I forgot to write them all down. And I thought, maybe I've lost them, but no, I didn't. So yeah, I'm gonna move this one again. And come on, there we go. There No, I did move it wrong. See, positive bias. Let's see it. Where did it go now? Yeah, it's too fine for me. This sometimes. There. See how it goes shorter and longer. I know my mouse isn't that fine. I don't know if others are not, but gets a little fiddly sometimes. Be ready for next time. All right, very cool. We are 41 already now. Very good. Very good. Very good. When I start doing this, when I start filling out the chapters, like this is, I just need the title. When I get into it, my brain immersing it, I'll write a chapter on it, no problem. Right? But when I start doing this and getting into it, and especially the first chapters, they already have the material, just uh, editing it. Then my brain, through immersion, stuff comes. When you understand immersion, I don't know. I have no idea what I'm going to write. I don't need to have it in my brain. I know from experience that once I start, more will come. Very, very powerful. Very powerful. I think I might have, this might be 2 chapters here. Yeah. Oh, oh. I think some of these got to be sub chapters, but they're not subheadings. They actually, like this is a subheading for that. I think this is a separate chapter, if you ask me. Yeah. I see the stuff needs to be edited. So conversation I had with marvelous friend Lisa Limo needs to be edited. Yeah, so I think this is separate. I don't know if it's the same. Well, I'm glad I saw that. Maybe I already have 50 because you see these early ones, they all have, some of them are related. Anyway, I'll figure it out when I get there. I'm getting distracted. Well, I'm having fun with myself. So what the heck? Get to see Soul in his own bubble. Yeah, how Soul the brain works. If that's of any interest to you, not because it's Soul, but because it's somebody else. When we get an inside look at how people's brains work, regardless of whether there's anything special or not to it, simply being aware from the inside. This is something that we very seldom get access to. And as such, it's very, very valuable. Very valuable. And because we can say, oh, well, then, what I do, by contrast, I feel good about what I do. Or, well, I'm glad I'm not the only one, and so on and so forth, right? It's learning. It adds to our database, which otherwise we have to assume, and to assume not very, very helpful when it comes to building something. We want to build something real. We need real information, right? Very important. Very important. All right, let's do confirmation bias, and then we'll wrap it up, right? I love this, and actually, this is now a chapter 1. I might go over this when Bina comes tomorrow. Positive bias. Can we use confirmation bias to positive effect? It's right in the title. Why are you asking me? See what I mean? Rationality. Look, yeah, $76, right now in dollars. Why you ask something that's right there? Well, there you go. People just want confirmation. They're not being stupid. They just want to make sure it is so. They don't trust their own ability to assess accurately the obvious. They've been trained all their lives. You're stupid. You don't know. Blah blah blah. So even though it's obvious, they don't trust it. I used to have this in the restaurant, right? When I had the first restaurant, very busy. And we had long lines, 30, 40 people going right outside the door, down the little steps outside, the little canopy outside. And go, anyway, and, and people would, and it was kind of narrow where they had to queue up. Excuse me, excuse me, excuse me. They go all the way, all past all these people, right, standing in line to wait, and the restaurant's full. You know what they'd ask me? First question, they get there, right? And I said, yes, what can I say? Is the food good? Yeah. That exact question. Is the food good? Yeah. I got asked this multiple times every night, right? This went on for, I don't know, years, I guess, right? Uh, just went on and on and on. Just kept on same question until one day I'm like, seriously, I mean, asking me this stupid question, like really honest. And so one person came in, right, and this hapless fellow, right, quite innocent, but I was tired, I was busy, I was always tired those days. I worked like a maniac. It's just ridiculous. But anyway, um, yeah. Let me just finish this here quickly. Normally, see when Venus, yeah, she fills in for me on this, and she would take care of that while I'm busy changing the back. Very brilliant, very brilliant. Anyway, so this person comes up, right? Go, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me. Is the food good? Yes. I'm just a little bit tired and kind of a little bit fed up with this question after having heard of it now tens of thousands of times by that time. So I said, no, it isn't. But I didn't like I didn't share in didn't let my irritation. It's not fair for me to put my irritation on the person. So I just said it calmly. I said, no, it isn't. I'm also gonna have a bit of fun with it. And it's like, uh, but 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 and they didn't want to believe me. I said, no, you can believe me. I'm the owner. I should know. And he says, yeah, but and I have a loud voice, right? It's loud in the restaurant. You can hear me. I'm not. I'm now speaking a bit more quietly. But I made sure that I can be heard and our conversation can be heard. I said, no, I'm the owner and I'm telling you, you asked me and I'm telling you, no, it's not. And I should know. I'm the owner. I should know. He says, yes, but. And now we end up in this whole long argument where he asked me if the food's good and I'm arguing that it isn't. And he, the customer, who isn't yet the customer, is arguing that it's good. And this went on for several minutes, right? And of course, I'm teasing him a little bit. And eventually, he kind of realized what's going on. And then I said, look around you. And he was like, yeah, I asked a stupid question. I asked a redundant question, right? And we got a round of applause out of it, actually. Uh, yeah. Which is really interesting. But, it really made me think, though. It stopped me. And I felt really bad. I felt really bad. Right? Now, okay, this is just me. This is part of Way of Impeccability and its application. Why did I feel bad? Because I'd been treating those people as stupid all this time. You'd say, yeah, but they are asking a stupid question. Yes, they are. But why? Why? Because there is so much BS in the world that you come to a place and everything seems like it should be good and it's actually terrible. I mean, some restaurants where you go to, right, and the food, well, it's supposed to be good food, but it's all fancy and it's about being weird and being different. And, like, it's like they just want to know, is it good food? In other words, is it edible from if you're hungry? Not because it's all fancy and you're getting like the artistic display on your plate and all this other stuff, right? So there is a logic to their question that we have to listen to past the obvious, like in this, most of the questions that are asked of Biela, right? Like our previous one there. With applied learning or whatever it was, or the other one, false modesty. Is false modesty a good thing? On the surface, it seems to be a duh question that answers itself. But when you think it a little bit through, like in that, is the food good here? We realize that uh, they have learned not to trust their obvious perception, sadly, right? And they haven't learned discernment. They haven't learned greater textual awareness because they don't have the time and the energy for it. So it's a fair question, right? All they wanted was that little bit of assurance that their perception in this case is accurate. All they needed. And didn't take me anything. Yes, it is. Have a look around. Oh, okay. Off they go. Impeccability. Yes, exactly. Way of impeccability. It is my program. It is my course. Norma, while we're on this, I'm just from a mnemonic point of view. Yes, emphasis helps us remember. Right? So I'm going to now share and show you the program, at least the start of the program, right? And you'll see it in a moment here. I'm going to put it up in a second. And here we go. Here we go. Yeah. Yeah. I'm just waiting for it to load. It will load in a moment. Am I not logged in? No, I am logged in. Why is it not showing? There are more modules here. Yeah, there we go. For some reason, it only loaded one. See, Einstein, again, do the same thing. I clicked on it. Typically, it would load all of them. That time, it only loaded one. Did it again. I got a different result. See, genius doesn't always know what's going on. All right, here we go. Here we go. Norma, this is what Way of Impeccability is. The Way of Impeccability Life Change Program. So its full name. Subtitle, Tools for Deliberate Living. So this is, if you're going to do Way of Impeccability, this is the course material. Yes. Now, of course, how you take the course material, just reading it. Oh, no, 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 no. Got to repeat back, takeaways, start some exercises. You got to apply it, use it. Got to come on Zoom, share about it, and go over it. And through emphasis, it becomes you. Emphasis of doing, of applying, not emphasis of memory. This is the worst way to learn anything. It's not actually learning. It is saving it to your hard drive. That doesn't teach your computer anything. Your computer is not changed in any way whatsoever, except for the temporary idea, oh, I've acquired some valuable information. Doesn't make any difference to the computer. It just goes to the hard drive and sits there. Right? So memory is the worst way to learn. It isn't learning, but we've been taught that it is. This all of our schools all about memory. Not learning, people. It's not learning. We learn inadvertently, yes. All right. So this is the curriculum, at least the first thing, module one, and then we got the session introduction. We got session one, see clarity of intent, and so on, right? And we got all of this, right? So this is what Way of Impeccability is, Norma. It is a program or a course. I call them programs because courses for me are smaller and shorter. This is at least 4 months to do this. At least a year is better, 2 years better, right? Because you got to live it. You're looking to change your entire life and the deeper, bigger moreness, not just acquiring tools for everyday usage, but also Way of Impeccability is about dealing with death. You get your life in order and sorted, and you get value doing it in your day to day. Yes, but also as an additional value, you ready for that comes. I have impeccability. Whatever new life that I might go into, I'm ready. I've got myself sorted. I've got myself organized. I have skills like understanding clarity of intent and focus of purpose. This is a very, very profound skill, changes everything. Look at that cover. Yes. Most people, when they design a cover, say, oh, I want it to look pretty. It must be beautiful. It must be artistic, whatever. But they miss the point of it. The point, the clarity of intent with the cover is to get the persons to look closer. Yes. Then you've got the title to grab them and give them information with which they go further and investigate a bit more. They read the blurb, they read whatever, and now they buy. There's a point to that cover. The cover is to inform appropriately for the purpose of getting the person to be relevant to them, to say, yeah, this is something that I want. That's why romance novels have all, they got He-Man on the cover and whatever. This is what people want. And so the cover tells you what you're in for. Now, with non-fiction books like this one, it's harder, right? So they have to look a bit more closely. But it's to grab your attention and make you interested. And, that look there is to say, what's your question? Are you for real? Are you living for real? Is your life sorted? Are you got it together? Are you understanding? Are you discerning? Do you have moreness like this? Right? The implications of that look are huge. Anybody who responds to that looks, oh, must be Ella. Oh, what are questions answered? Oh, what kind of questions? See, if you have any questions, you want to know stuff, it's going to grab you. At least this is my intent, hopefully. We don't always know with stuff like this. Sometimes you just guess, you don't know, but that's at least what I believe. But my point is, I'm making it about clarity of intent. When it comes to covers, and this is in books, you can judge a book by its cover. To make covers, it's an industry, and there's particular fonts that go with particular genres. Like romance has its own fault, mystery has its own fault, and so on, right? And it's very particular thing, right? You're not even aware of it, but over time you get to know the stuff. Especially if you read a lot, you'll quickly recognize whether the book is in your genre or not. If its cover doesn't match your genre, you're not interested. You don't even look at it because it's not what you expect. It's kind of a terrible way of doing things, really. It's about generalizing, but so be it. And it's gotten a little bit tricky because there's so many cats. I mean, there's just hundreds of them now, not thousands on average. All right. So this is what Way of Impeccability is, Norma, right? And it starts off with these questions, right? Which you got to say. Which of these resonate or apply to you? Say yes out loud. But now I usually go through this, right, with people on Zoom, and I make sure they actually do say it out loud because we tend to be a bit awkward and shy and don't say it out loud, but it is important. It's very important. All right. So yes. So Way of Impeccability, Norma, is it's a very profound life change program, of course. Yes. And it's a way of living, obviously. This Way of Impeccability is why the way of, right? It's a way of not just living, but a way of being. It's a toolbox that you can apply. Right? It's not a belief system. It's not something to follow. It's not, people say, oh, yeah, but they're like joining a cult. What the hell? Where did you get this from? Like, what does this got anything to do with the cult? As a matter of fact, I will kind of give participants a hard time if they simply believe me. It's poor thinking. Simply because I might be trustworthy and I've demonstrated repeatedly that what I say can be believed. To get into the default of simply believing simply because I say it, that's a terrible habit. Like Einstein, see? We trust Einstein when he said doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result is the definition of insanity. We just believed him because he's Einstein, but he's wrong in this. Sometimes that applies, but in general, that's actually very wrong. And it's in 50 ways to be smarter using opposite. Don't assume because somebody famous says so that this is actually valuable. Do I have it in here? Okay, computers and AI can be wrong. Inverse logic. I thought I had it here with Einstein. Yeah. Okay, I'm just going to make it into a separate thing if it is. But this goes, it's an actual chapter, a session in Way of Impeccability. It's all about quotes. Yes. Quote, ill logic. We assume when something's in quotes and there's somebody's name about it and they're famous, just there, that assumption, because a famous person said it, oh, it must be valuable. It's a quote. No. Look at that quote about insanity from Einstein. Maybe it's become a famous quote because it's actually, for the most part, wrong. So we can't trust quotes. This is a very, very important point. So I'm glad I remembered to put that here as a separate point to the one about actually doing it over and over. I think I've got that here with Einstein. I'm not sure. But if I don't, I want to make it a separate point about quotes. Inverse logic of quote. And also in Way of Impeccability, it goes even further. It's not just about learning to be discerning and discriminating in the positive way when it comes to perceiving quotes, but it's also about learning to quote yourself. This is very, 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 very valuable, right? So this Way of Impeccability is a ridiculously sophisticated program. Yeah. Yeah, so I don't have the thing with Einstein in here. Anyway, learning to quote yourself, very powerful. Why? Because you train your brain to think in a particular way. There's a logic to quotes. A quote is a quote because it's memorable in some way, and it's written in a way that makes it memorable. When you take your understanding of something and you start to distill it and refine it into a quotable format, you're not just summarizing it, but you are making it into a mnemonic device. Mnemonic device, a device that helps your memory and mnemonic and stimulates you to remind you to remember stuff, right? But also, good quotes are self-evident. You can unpack them. They're like a seed, right? You water it and it grows, right? They're like a cabinet file, or I call them uh, fractals, a fractal quote, because a fractal takes that thing and defines it into an essence little formula, and then from there you grow, right? So when we look at these things as a fractal conception, a good quote is a fractal conception, right? It's all condensed in there. So there's so much valuable that comes from being able to write things in quotable forms, right? It's why all my writing, well, I use quotes very regularly like that, even though they just come from me. I'm taking the moreness and I'm making it into all of that, condensing it, summarizing it, making it, connecting it, putting it in a way that you can water and unpack and unfold and get more from. You don't need to remember all of it, just the quote, and it's self-explanatory, right? This is what, so Way of Impeccability, Norma, just to emphasize again, it comes up every now and then, right? And Way of Impeccability is abbreviated as WOI, obviously, Way of Impeccability, right? So I just abbreviated to say WOI, right? And I'm typing, much quicker to write. So yeah, Way of Impeccability is a very big deal. It is a practical philosophy. It is a philosophy of application. It's a philosophy of practicality, but not practicality as in, like how to use a knife. That's a very good skill to learn, right? When you're cutting and slicing and things, slice away from yourself. Don't slice towards yourself, right? Because if it slips, then you cut yourself, right? So always simple things like this. In basic knife usage, it's knife 101. You get taught this when you were a child, or at least hopefully. I don't know if today people teach that, right? And again, too, when you're using a knife and you're straining against something, be aware of the give space, right? So what I mean with the give space is, I want to use my knife to illustrate here, right? Let's say I need to this pen, the marker, this thing has got fused on here, got heat, got jammed, and I want to like slice it off, right? So I can use the pen, right? Just for argument's sake. So now I'm pressing on here and I'm pressing hard and I'm straining away. That thing at some point is going to give, yes. And I've got to be aware of the give space, which means when it gives, my hand's going to shoot forward. It's going to shoot forward to, let's say, over here. But well, there's something over here you can't see, it's out of camera. But if that's in the range, my knife is going to be crashing into that thing and potentially cutting it. So be aware of your give space. It's just basics of knife usage, right? The moreness of using a knife, awareness, right? Simple things. But we never get taught this stuff. And way of impeccability is the same stuff, but not applied when it comes to practical things, or typical, material things, physical things like a knife, but to the practicality of things which are just as important, if not more so, but to our skills of character, our skills of thinking, our skills of being, our skills of feeling, our skills of emoting, our skills of perception, our skills of perspective, right? This makes a huge difference. So when we start to have those skills in the same way as we have practical, typical practical skills, but these are now moreness practical skills, the moreness of character skills, in other words, right? Ability skills, changes your life. Because instead of applying it only to use with a knife, I can apply this in the abstract to any tool. Yes, be aware, like a screwdriver. You need the same thing that gives space on a screwdriver. If you're pressing hard on a screwdriver and it slips off the screw, be careful. Is your thumb underneath that? You're going to stick a screwdriver through your thumb or whatever. See, people injure themselves all the time because they're not aware of these things. When you start to be aware of it and apply it to all tools, it's the skill, that understanding, gives space. See, I've got a name for it. Dictionary of power. Give a name to it. Anyway, so there's a lot to way of impeccability. It changes the way you know. It absolutely changes the way you have. Very simple thing. When you do it, it's simple. But you need to change your habitualness of being. It's life change. It's life change. Habits, right? We're changing our habits of being to have more effective habits. Like worrying. Worrying is such a default habit. And we for the most part, yeah, I worry, but do we really make a point to change it? We just assume worrying is natural. No, it is not. No, 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 it is not. Okay? No, not natural at all. It's a learned behavior. It's not natural at all. Yeah. Complaining, you could say, might be natural, but it's only natural because we don't have a different option. When we start off as babies, we want to complain. But does it stay with us? No, we learn to not complain. See? So that changes. That's well, at least for most people. Some keep complaining, right? They don't learn the lesson that complaining isn't appropriate always, right? It's contextual. It's as a baby, you're okay to complain, but as you grow up, right? What happens when you get a little bit older? Stop being a baby. Stop complaining. You learn that, oh, it was okay for babies, but it's not okay for when you're a little older. And then you stop, right? So appropriateness. That's why the philosophy of appropriateness is what underlies. Very, very powerful stuff. Very, very powerful stuff. Okay, well, we didn't get to read this chapter, but that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. We'll just enjoy some of the art. There's only one picture on this. Yeah, so I have to. This is my next project to look at all the art. Anyway, I wanted to make the point about way of impeccability. So, do you know what it is, Norman? Does it help you? You know what way of impeccability is more clearly now? At least to associate it, right? And you knew kind of before. I'm connecting it so that because when we have emphasis, it retrains the brain and it helps memory. So if you want to remember something, emphasize it appropriately. And also, part of way of impeccability, practice association management. Very important concept. It's in your dictionary of power. Add it. Make a dictionary of power if you don't have one. And you don't have to take way of impeccability to have a dictionary of power. Right? It's Norma's dictionary of power. So put association management in there and then write a little bit what association management means. Right? It means managing associations. It's all in its name. It's very obvious, right? See, fractal conception. Right? And what this means is when you need to remember something, associate. If you see people who have these ridiculous memories, that they tools, they do this on purpose. and they would associate something, and because they make an emphasis of the association, the brain now has more to work with and connected. There's more connections and it's easier to remember. So simply practice association, even if it's a random association, doesn't matter. You can assign meaning when it comes to associations. All right, it's a longer topic, and if this is something you want to get into more, we can do it in one of the opens. Again, we can go into this in more detail. But yeah, so this is all of it's part of wave impeccability. They're tools for living more efficiently, more effectively, more fluidly, more smoothly, less stupidly. Yeah, not because we are inherently stupid, but because we assimilate stupid behavior because it's our culture. Our culture is a feudal culture, and it was created by the feudal system, the feudal lords. Yeah, and there's a very real specific logic. People always talk about the man and all of this, but they don't really get it. They don't really understand what it actually is about. Yes, there was a man back in the day, not anymore so much. Yeah. But back in the day, you were looking as a feudal lord, you were looking to have free slaves because you had slaves before, and that system didn't work because man, to have slaves is a pain in the backside. You got to watch them, and they're dangerous, and they revolt and all this. But then they figured out psychologically we can simply institute culture that makes people willing slaves to work essentially for free, peasants. Yeah. So all of our culture is this point where it's making you just accept things like worrying. Yeah, worrying is normal. Well, if you're a peasant and you've got stuff to worry about because you're being abused and taken advantage of in a very terrible way, your worries are legitimate. But so the culture, the laws push out this vibe that says, no, no, it's quite natural to worry. It's okay. Same with suffering. Oh, suffering is noble. Oh, it's very good to suffer. That means you're going to go to heaven. A fantastic, brilliant abuse to make suffering into noble. No, no, it's just abuse, manipulation. So our culture comes from this. And like I said earlier, with people justifying their nonsense because they're all raging egomaniacs, total BMNs, bullshit manipulator narcissists. That's the feudal laws, right? And the very opposite of nobility. They're terrible people, horrible. No morals, no scruples, all me. And so, but now in order to justify this, they have to rationalize their total indulgence, their total negativity, their abuse, their manipulation. And because they're in power, they keep pushing these things out and supposed to via the churches, via the priests, via all the stuff, and via just, physical indoctrination. If you don't agree, you get whipped, punished, or even killed. See? So we developed that culture that we have now, that we are the inheritors of, was instituted and implemented very deliberately as a system of manipulation, so that you could have this free slaves. Very powerful stuff. Very powerful stuff. Very important to be aware of. Very important to be aware of. And of course, way of impeccability is saying, no, you're not going to have this. Thank you very much. There can be more. Just because this was the system and we've inherited it, the superiority paradigm culture, which only benefited the lords, didn't benefit anybody else, right? It's fucking culture. Really terrible and horrible. And we don't want that. We live in a culture now that has changed that, right? And that's the whole point of the Council of the God story. Jesus and Mercury come up with this idea to break the stranglehold of the feudal culture. The story starts in the Renaissance, right? Right there in the thick of the Renaissance, like 1490, I think the time was, maybe 89, 90, somewhere there, right after the fall of the Roman Empire in 1488, when the Ottomans sacked Constantinople, and right at the time where Columbus is going to Isabella and Ferdinand uh, and asking for funding for his expedition to go to America. And the council gets convened to decide if they're going to allow this or not. And Jesus and Mercury say, well, yes, there is a reason for allowing this. Yes, and not thwarting it because, well, we know Columbus is not a very nice guy, and this culture, they're going to go there and they're going to exploit things, and terrible. They've got the superiority of guns and everything, and it's just going to cause trouble. We've seen them do this in other places, And when they get there, it's like, why would we allow this infection into this whole continent? Two of them, right? Because they were aware of the problem. And Jesus and Mercury say it's a good reason for it, right? And they lay out the whole plan of. I'm not going to go into the whole book, but the point is that they want to break the stranglehold of the feudal culture, and that can only come about when there is enough wealth to go down into the people, and also that democracy starts to come, right? So the American experiment, which then starts to change the world, right? And if you look at our world history, even during the Renaissance, when people started to wake up and think, and you had all these inventions, they never got to the people. Leonardo da Vinci, this fantastic, awesome genius, really thinking outside the box. He was vulnerable. He had to have patrons. And all of his inventions went to the Medicis and people like that, right? And they just kept it for themselves and turned it to warfare. They didn't turn it for good. Yeah. So all of his genius got wasted. The people down there, they never got into it because of the feudal system. And so Jesus and Mercury comes up with this grand extrapolation, which they get from the future, from the philosopher. So his grand extrapolation called the coming of the golden age, right? It's a very long, involved, beautiful story, but it's a plan to break this stranglehold that had been going on for millennia, aeons, centuries, right, of the feudal culture. And we're still in the tail end of this changing now. We're still stuck in the superiority paradigm as a default. Of course, there are many potential alternatives, and this is part of the other part now, right? The Council of the God stories eventually connects to Nobilia and the whole and Biala, right? The Biala series, because that is about an alternative culture, not the alternative, an alternative. There could be others. This is just one. But to break the stranglehold of assuming that the superiority paradigm is the only way to be, that's just the way it is. You have to always be fighting for your position. You have to always be worried about looking bad and all of the other rubbish and absolute total idiotic nonsense that we accept as just, well, we don't even think about twice about it. Like you should worry. No, says who? Did some, you know, BMN narcissist who was trying to justify their own foolishness? No, they were worried about being attacked by their slaves and stuff like that. All right, they may have had legitimate reasons to worry, but we don't necessarily. Right? We don't live in a world where we worried about the lions coming to eat us anymore. Not that that's actually a real true worry, by the way. If you live in a place where lions are roaming around free, which is very few places in the world still today, they tend not to eat people unless for some reason the lions have been had a negative experience with people. Then they turn bad. They basically become kind of human killers. But it doesn't happen of its own accord. It only happens in response to people being in some way negative to the lions. So worrying about the lions is pretty unjustified fear actually in nature. They tend to not attack people because they know it's not a good thing. They're aware. Non-obvious stuff. Yes. Matter of fact, I'll add that as a chapter. All right, this is brilliant. Thank you very much, Norma, for hanging out with me. I know it's just me and you today, and I love it. It's been great fun. Not much of a show today, if you'd like it in a show format, which I like doing sometimes. This is just an open, it's just me sharing, just moreness. There's always value in listening to sharing. Right? Always value in listening to sharing. All right. On that note, Norma, I will end it there. With a lion and the opposite, by the way, it is many things involved with a lion that come with philosophy of opposite, like running away from a predator. You think, yeah, but isn't that like just the right thing? Sometimes the very opposite is the thing to do, to not run away. Because the moment you run, you trigger the chase response. Right? They tell you this with bears. Don't turn around and run away. The bear will chase you. Stop, don't chill, don't challenge the bear, don't stare at it, and just back away slowly. I'm not a threat. I'm a nothing. I'm not food. I'm just irrelevant. And you move away. I'm not a threat. I'm not an issue. I'm not food. And once the bear can't see you, then you run. I know when it can. Yeah, chase response. It's an incredible thing. So the victims invite aggression. Something Nietzsche said that always stayed with me. I very seldom remember quotes, but that one stuck with me. was something that was a revelation for me. Mostly when I see them, I like to think about stuff. It's like, oh, okay, duh. And that one was like, oh, oh yeah, all right, yeah, yeah. Now that I think about it, yeah, absolutely, it's a very big deal, very big deal. So very, 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 very important to understand, right? Lion logic, and also the other part of the lions is this extra to it. When the lion does want to eat me, not that they typically do, but let's assume it does want to. I don't get angry at the lion. I don't blame the lion and say, you shouldn't be doing this and get all outraged. I just run. Oh, the lion wants to eat me. Okay, well, the bear. Right? It's just a fact. Yes. But when people do things that are similar, we get all outraged. The lion's just being the lion. It's just how it is, right? And if you've been taught to be a jerk in your culture through superiority and dominance, when you come and do all, snarky and sarcastic and mean and demeaning and derogatory and denigrating and so on, just them being a lion or them being a bear. They've been taught to be this way. I can't hold it against them. I can't get angry. It's got to take appropriate action to deal with it. Yeah. And you can, lions can be tamed too. So we can deal with lions. People all want to be lions, but me, no, thank you very much. I want to be a lion. Suck your way to be. Again, lion logic. When you really take care of lions, maybe that's you know, lions were kind of a thing in my life. So at least they had some prominence. So I paid attention to them and I learned a lot because of it, but in a non-obvious way. So lion logic has a lot of opposite involved. Add that as the next chapter. It could actually even be 2 or 3 chapters, but I'll do it as well. It's very useful to remember as a mnemonic. Yes, lion logic. It's terrible stuff. Don't want to be the lion. Opposite, opposite, opposite. The value comes from opposite. All right, I've been saying goodbye for a while now, but now really I'm going. All right, bye bye, everybody. Bye bye, Norma. Bye bye, Norma. Love you, Norma. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. As always, always a joy and a delight. Really a pleasure. All right, bye bye. Bye bye, everybody. And meeting in